Do the mechanisms of development guide evolution? Domesticated animals provide an answer. It was to these that Charles Darwin turned for inspiration when struggling to devise his theory of inheritance. Breeders had generated vast amounts of data on the inheritance of traits through which Darwin painstakingly trawled. Darwin's investigation revealed a striking pattern that has stood the test of time. Domesticated mammals share a curious suite of traits. That dogs, horses, pigs, sheep and cattle should all be tame made sense. After all, Darwin knew they'd been artificially selected for these traits. But why did they have floppy ears, curly tails and changes in coat colour? Why smaller teeth and flattened muzzles? Darwin was unable to explain this conundrum. A century later, a Russian geneticist called Dmitry Belyaev studied the puzzle by breeding wild foxes and allowing only the tamest individuals to reproduce. Belyaev established that the full suite of traits associated with domesticated animals could arise in foxes and otherwise undomesticated species through selection for tameness alone. This constellation of traits is now widely known as the domestication syndrome. However, a compelling explanation for this oddity had to wait until 2014, when a team of biologists finally identified what the traits comprising domestication syndrome had in common: a developmental origin as neural crest cells. Neural crest cells are embryonic cells that migrate around the body and eventually differentiate into a wide array of cell types. They are direct precursors or play vital roles in the development of virtually all the traits associated with domestication syndrome. For instance, they're antecedents of bone and cartilage in the skull, jaws, ears and tail, as well as of teeth, and of melanocytes expressed in pigmentation changes. This shared developmental origin allows the repertoire of traits associated with domestication to be explained by a single mechanism: mutations in genes that regulate neural crest cells. Of course, different domesticated animals will accumulate different mutations, which is why their traits can differ. However, they share the same developmental system for making neural crest-derived cells. Hence, what the domesticates have in common, their syndrome of shared characteristics, can be explained by reliance on the same developmental mechanisms. Any regulatory change to neural crest cells will have knock-on effects for all the cells that derive from them. Domestication neatly illustrates how development can affect evolution. There was nothing intuitive about the suggestion that selection for tameness would lead to curly tails or piebald coat colours. These observations had baffled Darwin and numerous other researchers for over a century. Only through knowledge of development can this enigma be resolved. What connects the different traits is shared developmental regulation via the neural crest cell gene regulatory network. Mammalian development effectively ensures that tameness, when it evolves, tends to be found in animals with splotchy coloured skins or small brains. And the same developmental mechanisms observed in domesticated species also affect the evolution of animals in the wild. By generating patterns of covariation among traits, the mechanisms of development help determine which traits evolve. To paraphrase biologist Mary Jane West Eberhardt, the suggestion that evolution must proceed where development leads is not merely a claim, it's an imperative. To learn more, read Evolution Evolving today.